that's basically what they say. Isn't that true? Isn't that what most people say? He's really happy to be here, we're having a great time, and Mr. Cho, this is really great. We've known each other for a long time, and basically that's all they say. They never speak to issues.
所以一般都係一種好虛浮嘅嗰種應酬，呢啲應酬咧，你大家見得多嘅。
If you force them to come and speak to issues, they'll be better politicians.
咩嘅話係注意啲你自己，佢就會使到佢嘅政治家都好。
And if they don't come, then you know why.
如果佢唔嚟咧，
If they don't come, you know why.
你知道咩啦？
But I really believe we have to do that as a community. I really, really do.
所以我哋社區真係要咁嘅。
And we just have to stop these little parties. We have to stop them and start making them a little more real. And I say this without criticism. I don't criticize the associations because the associations do tremendous work in the Chinese Canadian community. Tremendous work.
我唔係話對你哋嘅社區嘅挑戰，或者對你哋根本其實咧，你係一個好好嘅社區。
And your dedication to get people together around clubs is incredible. I haven't seen anything like it. I think what you do is huge and big. That's why you can take advantage. You should take advantage of it.
所以咧，我哋睇到我哋華人嘅社區有好多好龐大嘅組織，呢啲咧咁龐大嘅組織係咁龐大嘅力量，而我哋咧冇做到咁樣，所以咧我哋咧而家有咁龐大嘅組織，我哋應該咧有更好嘅先啱嘅。
So to be involved is good for the community.
即係為着呢個我哋華人社區嘅好。
It's good for your kids if they see you actively involved in that way.
同時咧對下一代或者我哋細路嘅好。
It's good for politicians.
最好係走政治，啲細路。
And it's good for society.
亦都係呢個咁樣啊！大家能夠參政咧，對呢個社會、呢個社區都係好嘅。
And I would like to answer any question.
佢可以答覆任何咧，你而家。
今日咧有好多好賞面講話，咁咧我今日咧最後我知道大家都有好多問題要問，咁咧就最後咧我最後咧就想洪世忠先生講幾句説話。大家都知道咧，洪世忠先生咧喺社團裏邊咧，我哋就叫做洪大哥。咁佢咧喺社團裏邊幾十年咧係幫過好多人，咁咧就為好多人咧出面。咁咧就大家都唔知道咧，佢以前讀大學嘅時候咧係讀政治嘅，佢係文人出身嘅，佢係佢係一個名正言順咧，我哋中國人所講嘅儒商，即係讀書人咧係做生意，但係咧就做得好成功。咁咧而家我哋請阿洪世忠先生講幾句説話，跟住我哋就開始問話。
主席各位同胞，这个今天这个会我本来是没有预算来的，但是我参加第一次开会跟他们聚会吃餐的时候，我觉得呢，前途堪忧，因为什么？因为其中有一些人呢，这个想法呢跟我完全是脱节的太大，有的人强调不可以谈这个什么这个东西也不可以谈那个东西，我说你就限制了这个东西什么都不可以谈的话，你主持这个怎么可以令到我们这个什么叫做论坛呢？在论坛里边什么都不可以论，我说那这个论坛有什么用是吧？所以但后来第二天嘛，过来时那个林大明先生就跟我解释了很多东西，我觉得他读了他那本东西，而且他跟我解释，我们这个是越谈就会越健康的，所以你放心，希望你来支持我们。那么跟着呢，是因为有一位保守党上面有一位来找我说，这个内区的这个association 那个什么分部，居然是所有的白种人都选了你们中国人一个年轻的中国人当了主席那么希望他这个你下一点力量，让他介绍给他认识我们华人社会。我说这一点那很难得是吧？我们华人这个主席他们说是才是32岁的一个中国人，居然外国人都全票投他的。那我说这个林大明先生这组织这个会居然是要鼓励华人参政， 而且我们讲的是，林大明讲的这个很对，他说我们有10年的计划，要行之以恒啊，不能说马上就想出风头就没有用。我说这个呢，就要支持像我们郭先生32岁这种年轻人，你支持我到还没有成功我就死掉了，没有人。所以我说我非常的这个高兴，马上就找个机会嘛，就请我们林先生呢把这个郭先生让他认识，我说找个机会介绍给大家认识。那我这个呢就也表示对这个会有种实际的这个行动，因为我觉得有的人呢就参加了大写文章，讲话讲了几十年都没有做过真的好事啊，并不做实际的行动，表示没有用。所以我讲的我还是比较实际啊，有这个机会我介绍一个年轻的人来，大家参考一下。这个我还要强调的就是什么？我们刚才讲了，很多人说我们是不是要争取我们的地位，争取什么？我说我们不用，关心我们华人参政结果的效果或是方式，我们尽管研究，但是不要自己没有信心。我今天带来的这个郭先生就是一个例子。为什么华人会看得起他，全票给他呢？他们董事里边20-30个，有律师，有会计师，有很多专家，有的专业的这个政客结果他还是多数票给拥护出来了。白人居然会选我们中国人把黄种人出来当主席，这个为什么？也就是刚才梁锦华先生讲的这句话，你要参政，你要参加竞选，你要看看你本身的这个能耐。还有就是今天郭先生那个演讲稿给我看了，所以他不敢讲了。这一点他是对我们参政或者过去参政的人客气，他不敢讲，怕得罪人。他就说，重要的你要参政，就先贡献，你要在社区里边贡献，你要做出很多的贡献牺牲，让人家看你的成绩，然后你参政，人家才会给你一个票。你不是说参加竞选以前就出来，我也参加了，我交1000块钱，我也来报名，我也参加了，希望你们大家支持我，因为我是黄种人，你也是黄种人，你不支持我是义不容辞了什么的。这个郭先生呢，他是不敢讲，他跟我讲的，我说你这样讲那个本来呢这区，我说以前是没有基础的PC 党是把这个东西是当 unwinnable 是不可能赢的一个区。那你怎么做啊？你有希望这么做吗？他说我32岁怕什么？我就从头做。所以今天我讲的这几句话呢，啰里啰嗦，也就是说证明我们这个会是会有很大的前途。我们也很多这个有识之士许志源先生什么这些我都认识很久，他们都读过很多书的人。那么我们这个组织我看了。将来有一个叫做 think tank， 说advisory group 就是顾问团都是像许志远先生他们这些有识之士来组织。那么另外呢，有很成功的商人，我们黄明亮先生他们会筹钱，这个配合起来，我相信这个非常有前途。Lastly, I think I just want to say a couple of words to back up our Casey. He's been a good friend for mine for a long time, and I've openly told him that although I'm a PC, but in several occasions when he was out campaigning, I was with him. For one reason, because I think he will be a very good, he's an asset to our constituency, and I don't care. I'm a Canadian. And I'm supposed to help him because I know he can do something for our community. Now, as for what I want to say about supporting his ideas and what he has just said, I'm going to prove it. He is a good politician that can take any kind of criticisms or insults. And what he said was right. The Chinese, whatever you are against him or against his party's policy, they will talk behind. NDP 唔得啊，乜乜乜唔得啊。But when they see Marquesi walks in, it's yeah, come, welcome. Here's tea, here's cakes, you know. I tell you, you do not need to say that to Mr. Marquesi. I've known him for years. He's a guy who will face any problems head on. 我曾经问他，你们说这个 NDP 是良心党，是在你们这个党魁这个手里创办了这个发给了很多的这个执照，什么赌场的执照 casino， 你不是害死我们很多中国人了？我说这个良心在哪里啊？ See, and Rosal Marquesi can take it. It's well, he explained to me that although although permits were given under the hand and when Bob Ray was the premier, but it wasn't the premier who decided to issue this. It has to be debated, argued, and it has to take a long length of argument in the process, political process, before that permit was issued. But you guys are against it. We never heard any of the Chinese against it, complaining. I think this proves that Marquesi is the guy who can take any punches, and I think the Chinese community likes him very much.
In fact, one of my problems is that I am too honest. I just don't lie very well.
It's true.
So if I'm asked questions, you will know immediately how I feel, because it's hard to put a spin on it. A lot of politicians put a spin on it. I don't know how you say that, so they understand.
好多嗰啲政客答覆你嘅，都係一種轉彎嘅抹角嘅一種方式，即係打太極佢話我就唔識呢啲嘢，你有咩問題我即刻就 head on。
That's my weakness.
呢啲係佢嘅弱點。But in this weakness is winning you all the votes, I can tell you, because the voters know what's right and what's wrong. Yeah, it's honest. He's an honest politician, and I like that. Everybody likes that. In fact, before I round up, I would like to tell you one thing, which is against your party's policy. You can find the majority of Chinese, 95% of the Chinese, who are against same-sex marriage. And a lot of these people here even wrote a lot of articles, but when they see you, they will refuse to say anything. You see? But I will represent most of the Chinese. No Chinese is supporting this policy. Same-sex marriage to Chinese is just stupid. There might be a few Chinese guys who come from Hong Kong or China who say, oh, we came here specifically just to get married because we are both males. But that's bullshit. Most of the Chinese don't believe in that. Traditionally, Chinese is man and woman marriage. There's no marriage such as man and woman and woman. Because we prefer, we deem it that is our responsibility and duty to for our parents that we should have our children too. It's a responsibility to us.
I understand.
Thank you.
Okay, what's the point of it?
Well, it's just a way of showing you how well organized they are. They find people who can talk to me about culture and influence me on cultural issues. When I was the minister of
that they want to deal with, right?
Sorry?
So the point is, they sent a guy to deal with that issue.
Okay.
To be next to you. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. When I was a minister in 1990, we were invited by the Jewish Congress to go there as a cabinet.
Right.
We all went. That doesn't happen too often, where the National Congress of Chinese Canadians invites all of cabinet and they go. Doesn't ever happen. But when we were invited by the Chinese Congress, almost all the cabinet ministers went. At the what did I say? Chinese. The Jewish Congress, we all went. And they organized it in a way that somebody who was knowledgeable about cultural issue just came to the door to say hello to me and stayed with me the whole evening. And someone who was knowledgeable about economic issues was there with the Minister of Finance. And someone who's knowledgeable on health issues was there to, maybe a doctor or a specialist, greeting that Minister of Health and staying with him for the whole evening. I was just showing you how well organized they were to invite us as a party and as a cabinet. And we went. And then how it was organized that evening very, very efficiently. Now, it's just a way of showing you that they're organized. What did that accomplish that evening? Well, it showed me how well organized they are. And that if they want to accomplish something, they know how to do it. Strong. We elect from all three political parties a lot of Italian Canadians from the community around all of Ontario. So it's a community that obviously has realized that to get involved politically is a good thing.
Mr. Marchese, you sound a very okay guy to us and a very good man that we would like to vote for you, but when are you going to switch to a party that
Big question, eh?
I met a lot of liberals who would say, why don't you join us? Not conservatives, liberals. And when you believe in something, it's very difficult to change that. My father was a construction worker, and my mother worked at home all of her life. I wasn't political when I started. I became a teacher of English and French, but I didn't believe in politics. I didn't understand it. It's when I started reading politics that I began to relate to social democracy, which is what our party is all about. I began to relate to a party that speaks about social issues and social justice, and not economic liberty so that you can just make as much money as you want, but worried about the little guy that doesn't succeed, worried about the guy like my father who worked all of his life and had a little pension at the end of it, worried about the little guy like my father who I think might have gone to Italy once after coming to Italy, from Italy in 1956. They work. That's all they do, all of their life. And they're not wealthy people. But if you don't have a political party, which is our party, that worries about health, a public health system, not a private one, but a public one. If you don't worry about someone who is not wealthy like my father and doesn't have a pension, and what does he do when he retires and has to live only on $1,000? And what does he do if he doesn't have health coverage anymore, or dental coverage because you're not part of a dental plan? If some party doesn't worry about that, then who takes care of people? So for us, if you don't have people like me worried about people like that, then you have a society that is a dog-eat-dog kind of world, where people work hard to make their own living, but if you don't make it, you're on your own. That scares me. If you don't have a society where we worry about what happens to people like that, then it's not a good society anymore. It's a society of animals, where those who survive well survive, and those who don't, too bad, and they die off. That's the difference, and I can't change that. It's what you feel. So I could never be a liberal. I could certainly never be a conservative, never. But I could never be a liberal because I don't trust their politics. They don't have a politics that in my mind is clear. New Democrats stand for something. Conservatives stand for something. Liberals, they go all over. They go right, they go left. I could never accept that kind of politics. But we are who we are, and I'm not trying to say to people, you should be like me. That's just the way I learned to do politics, based on what I know. And so it's hard for me to say to you, you should be like me. You should change to my politics. Because we all come to politics differently. And thank God that there were different political views, otherwise we'd all be the same.
參政嗰種係憂鬱、恐懼後群症嗰個嘢，我驚住呢種情形咧就會有啲係唔會傳染，但係會有感染到嗰啲華人參政嗰方面嘅嘢，會有啲咁嘅擔心。因為我就唔覺得佢係潑一盆冷水，如果潑一盆冷水咧，佢就係有啲刻意嘅行動。呢種係佢嘅係即係佢嗰個係病態嘅表現嚟啫，就唔係佢控制得到嘅嘢。咁我就即係我覺得我哋華人參政裏邊要有呢種警惕去感染呢種嘢。第二種咧就係話 嗰個舉例咧就係第二點咧，就係話佢話我哋華人參政唔一定要參選，唔一定要支持參選，我哋打下政府工都係嘅。咁呢樣嘢咧就混淆咗一樣嘢，就佢呢樣嘢咧係已經係提出咗啦，就係我嘅睇法係完全一樣，就話係兩回事嚟嘅，或者唔作呢種舉例。我想講就係呢啲。
如果係不同嘅意見咧 ，if a different points of view and accuse the other of mentally ill, that is not right. 如果話以不同嘅意見咧，而話人哋係有病態咧，呢個人身攻擊嚟㗎。站在呢個社會 ，in this Canadian society, this cannot be tolerated. This is not democratic. We are a democratic country. We respect the rights of every individual. I know Rosario many years, and I admire Mr. Rosario's standing. You are great. You have your strong stand, not moving anywhere. That is great. And the other thing is, I find a lot of Italian experience is very similar to Chinese experience. And also our makeup is very similar. We are also multicultural, multiracial, right?
Yes.
Because I have friends and relatives from Italy and also from Greece. And the Greeks are also not homogeneous. It's unlike the Jewish, they are very homogeneous. I'm not going to divulge myself to that issue. But the thing is, we have to understand, both of us have suffered under injustice of the Canadian government. The Italians have suffered in the Second World War, am I right?
Yes.
And nothing has been done yet. And we are not going to punish them. We should celebrate. We come a long way. We should celebrate the harmony we are now creating and understanding among all ethnic groups. And we should celebrate this instead of punishing them like the Japanese have to get money value back to give them in compensation. I think we are greater than that. We should celebrate Canadian unity, not tolerance. Now we're talking about acceptance now, because tolerance has its limit. And I think Rosario is doing a great work towards this end.
I think that in about 20 or 30 years, we will all be mixing. And I believe that's a beautiful thing. I think that I was married to a Lithuanian woman. And we're all going to eventually mix culture. That will slowly begin to deal with issues of racism. When our children marry Chinese or Greeks or Italians and they intermarry, that is a beautiful thing. I believe that's what makes Canada so different and so beautiful. And we shouldn't be worried when people marry into different cultures. Initially it's going to be difficult, but eventually people will learn to live with other cultures, and I believe that that's what we should be doing more of and not be frightened of.
I'm coming to another point, Rosario. What I'm bringing to this forum is, I pointed it out, we are now Canadians.
Yes.
We should be loyal to Canada.
Yes.
And not loyal to our ancestral country. And the Italians have a good example. Years ago, when Rome was very active promoting Italian culture, right? They sent textbooks and also teachers to
And they still do it, yeah.
They're still doing it,
Yeah.
but at that time, Ottawa did voice. They said, we want Italians and Greeks to retain their culture here among their communities in Canada and not being affected or directed from their own.
I believe that it's really hard to get rid of who you are. And I don't think there's anything wrong with identifying as Chinese Canadians and identifying as Italian Canadians. I believe it's a beautiful thing. And promoting our language, Chinese in your case, Italian in my case, it's beautiful. I'm predicting that in 20 years the Italians will forget their Italian. That's sad. And the only thing that will remain is pasta. And Chinese will have the same problem.
Sorry.
In 20 or 30 years, you'll have the same problem. But I think we should be encouraging that because it's beautiful. It doesn't make you any less Canadian.
No,
Not at all.
you know, the last point, I'm not an NDP, but I have to speak for the NDP. The NDP did not promote same-sex marriage. It was Mike Harris. They used the court to legalize it. You remember that?
They did, but just to defend, I'm not afraid to tell you that we support same-sex. New Democrats are not afraid to say that. It hurts us to say it, but we're not afraid to say it. Whereas in the Conservative Party and the Liberal Party, people are afraid. So that's why they wanted to pass.
But they did it.
They did it too.
Yeah.
That's why they wanted to pass through the legislation quickly, without too much debate, because a lot of Liberals didn't want to stand up to vote against or in favor. But New Democrats are not afraid to say we support it. I have learned, and that's why I say my honesty hurts me more than it helps me, but I learned that to be a homosexual isn't something you can control. That I have friends who are homosexual, and you understand you don't learn to be homosexual. You're born that way. And if you're born that way, there's nothing I can do about it. That's my view. I know that you all feel differently. But my view is if you're born that way, then we have to accept that as part of who we are as humans. And not hurt them, and not tell them what they can and can't do, because it's not my right to do that. But I tell you honestly that I believe that they are entitled to the same rights the rest of us. Even though we disagree on this, I want to tell you that New Democrats are supportive. I just thought I'd share it, even though it doesn't help me to tell you.
Finally, I would thank you, Rosario, to use your Italian background to enlighten us. Thank you very much.
胡偉勇先生有個問題。
I would like to make a quick report, okay? So today we have about 55 people to show up here today, and more people than last time. So thank you so much for everybody coming. And then we thank you so much for Vietnamese Lao Association to lend this play for us to do this today. So we appreciate for the Vietnamese Lao Association for doing that. And then we hope next month we are coming stronger, more people to show up, more people to support our association. Thank you so much.
我哋而家咧
Yeah, before we end, I think I want to say something. We shouldn't be bringing our own argument into this group of people. Like, you have your point of view, he got his point of view, but we shouldn't put it on the table. Instead, we try to make people talk to the public. We try to make people express what they feel about it. So I'm not taking credit of it. Last time when the SARS comes in, I was working in the hospital for a long time, and I quit. And one of my friends called me up saying that Mount Sinai Hospital have the kind of technology they want to do the SARS test, but they lack a machine. Okay, that costs a lot of money. I called up a Chinese politician at that point saying that, well, since everybody's blaming the Chinese, why not we try to raise some money and buy the machine? Okay? And he ignored me at that point, saying that, well, you shouldn't be doing that. We should ask the government to do that. But he could do nothing about it. So I went to another party. Okay? I talked to the guys there. And then finally we got Clement. There's the Tory down there. Clement finally made the decision to buy the machine. Now, if you don't speak up, if you don't talk about it, forget it. We won't get the machine. Okay? But this is something that, this is what we're all about here, sitting here, right? Instead of bringing your own point of view, trying to beat each other up, instead we should stay together, adhere together. I know you got your point of view, but it's a little bit out of date. I'm
May I
sorry
let
about it.
Rosario what I said?
Yeah, I know, but
he
your
didn't
point of
hear
view,
what I said.
to myself, is a little bit out of date.
Yeah.
Everybody has to speak up. We should
Yeah.
be standing back. We shouldn't be standing behind somebody and saying, oh, I want to do something like that. No, stand out there.
Yep.
Okay?
May I
So we
respond?
don't need to be afraid.
Yeah.
You
May I
shouldn't-
respond?
you shouldn't
That
have to be
somebody is
afraid,
going to execute you or prosecute you, like when you're saying something.
Yeah. May I respond?
Yep.
Please. Mr. Rosario, you missed what I said. What I said, the Chinese Canadian community shouldn't be afraid to participate in the political arena, because we are Canadians. This is our, like Italian Canadians, Greek Canadians, Chinese Canadians, all alike. We have our rights governed by our constitution and the rights, the Charter of the Rights.
Yep.
What I mentioned to them is we should divorce ourselves from our ancestral country. But once you drag your ancestral country's politics into Canadian politics, you would invite people to look upon you differently. Now, I'm talking, this is open. It's not confined to Chinese, Canadian. We are Canadian. Rosario has the right to know what we talk about. If not, why would you like to invite Rosario here? This is why I'm telling you, not because I don't feel good, because China was my ancestral country.
Right.
We all know Chinese have great civilization, and we have a lot to learn, and the Chinese Canadian have a lot to offer. So people will understand each other and accept each other's good points.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that we have to do it this way and point to each other. If you don't support your ancestral country, if you don't agree with your ancestral country, you are a traitor. You are ill. That is wrong. I am all for Canadian Chinese to participate in this. This is why I'm here. But I have to give them a word of warning. You have divorced yourself from your ancestral country's politics.
If I can.
I think this lady has a question.
No, but if I can before that.
Yeah.
I think it's good for people to be able to say what they need, what they feel. I think it really is. Because if you're not able to express yourself, then this kind of forum is not helpful. Right. The point of having this forum is so that people can feel they can say something even if the majority disagree with you. So I wanted to agree with you. But I also wanted to say, in relation to this point, that it's very difficult to avoid getting involved on issues that happen in China. Very difficult. It's hard to separate and put a wall. And so there are, on some occasions, times when we are, whether we like it or not, dragged into that debate. So you're going to have that debate. How you tackle that is not going to be easy, because you're all going to have different views about how to do it. Some people might say we shouldn't be involved in that debate, and others say, but we have to. And then you'll have others saying, well, how do we blend the two between our involvement here as Canadians and the fact that we're Chinese Canadians dragged into an issue that is affecting China, but being Chinese, you're affected by it. So you got to have that debate, I wanted to say.
I've been proposing to them, may I just finish, proposing to them, we should keep ourselves separate from that, not to make the situation there more difficult and more grave.
But it might be
like what happened in the Middle East, because everyone tried to put something into the action, and it's making the situation there even worse day by day.
But except
and I have been warned not to speak like this. This is not right. Speak in English now. I am not against this.
No， 你应该给其他人发言。
我讲一下，就是我看啊，现在呢，我们正在开启搞华人参政，提出这个问题。林先生有一个蓝图讲出来，希望我们呢发动100多万华人，怎么样参政，怎么样团结起来，起码有1000种意见不同，大家和气一点，互相尊重，少点互相讲不对，这样呢把事情慢慢的發動多點。
OK， 嗱
整個加拿大搞起來就好啦。
OK， 我哋已經過咗開會嘅時間啦。OK， 咁咧呢位女士咧有問題要講。
Well, actually it's not. I just like to comment. Thank you very much for. This is first time I attended this, and I really, think that it's very valuable, and I enjoy, all the speakers, and it's very refreshing to meet Mr. Rosario, politician that talk straight, and also like a lot of your things are very meaningful. Like this is the first time that I hear a politician that talk with meaningful solutions and suggestions rather than just standard flowery party line. So, thank you so much. And
Yes.
thank you, Mr. Minister.
我哋最後一個問題啊，有冇人要發問啊？阿劉生啦，阿劉生有冇發問？
少少啦，就係我覺得林瑞琪同學嘅提出嘅意見咧係即係將叫我哋乖乖啲做嘅好乖嘅 Canadian citizen， 因為佢 in the service of Canada。但係呢啲我哋咧呢度大家都係有色人種係 visible minority， 我哋值得band together and do something 嘅。猶太人就係因為嗰你如果有留意到半個月前猶太人紀念 Auschwitz 嘅 anniversary 就好啦，係嘛？所有猶太人咧喺德國冚唪唥俾佢清滅啊，係嘛？唔單止猶太人啦，裏頭咧仲有 Gypsies，the Romanis were the minorities too. They were all wound up and pushed into the Holocaust. into the gas chamber. I can well believe that the Chinese that were wound up will make the same fate. Because why? If the Germans have their way, the king of Germany, the Kaiser, extolled the German armed forces to go and slaughter any yellow dogs you see when they launch out to attack the Boxer rebellion. And this is the Jews have a very good lesson, and they have such a great lesson to bind them all together. The Chinese also, we have so much lessons to bind us together. You must remember how the Chinese were so unfairly treated like slaves. After finishing the railroad that unites the whole nation, they were shipped back and they were forbid to come into this country, to bring their folks, their family back into this country, this country for a reunion. Not only that, the Chinese, and the Chinese exclusion tax instituted by Mackenzie King, subjecting all the Chinese to pay a head tax, which is a ransom for a king. An arm and a leg. In those days, it was the equivalent of a great big limousine. Each year they have to pay such an amount, but starting with the head tax, the first installment, and after that, and so on and so forth. So there was such an unfair and grave injustice to the Chinese that we have to band together and stick our heads out.
You totally misunderstood me. You totally misunderstood me.
But if I can, Professor, if I can, racism exists. It doesn't go away. We've all been affected by it, all of us, and it won't disappear. Visible minorities are much more affected than those people who are white in terms of getting a job and in terms of how much money they make. So racism now is a little more subtle. In the past it was very obvious and clear. Now it's subtle, but it still goes on.
It's still there, yes.
So that's something that should unite us in terms of how we deal with that issue. Absolutely. I wanted to say that because if you think it's gone away because we're friendly people and Canada is nice, racism is still here, and that's an issue that needs to be dealt with all of the time. I thought I would say that.
I must clear
We're not talking about you.
Okay.
We weren't talking about you.
No, he's talking about me in Chinese.
嗱，我哋咧租用
So I
呢
must
個，
respond to that.
我哋租用呢個會場嘅時間咧就到啦。OK， 咁我哋要還翻要清場咧，還翻呢個會場咧俾完呢個會啊。咁咧就多謝大家嚟。 咁咧就我哋下一次咧，
你張凳攞出嚟，
一張攞咗係咪？
瞓低嘅咧係，瞓低快脆啊嘛。多2分鐘，多2分鐘。咁瞓低落幾多鐘啦？咁靚啊！瞓低嘅啦。瞓低時候，大家望呢度啊！笑笑地望住攝影師，望呢度，1、